Welcome back, Super Brain. So how are you enjoying your quest? I'm not only your coach, I want to be your cheerleader here because I want to congratulate you on making it this far. So where are we now? We're talking about the ultimate tip, turning everything into a picture, because we are visual creatures. We talk about, if I asked you, tell me about your car, what do you see? You see the car, right? You see four wheels, you see the color, you see the make and model of the car, you see everything about the car. You don't see the actual color written in words, right? You don't see four doors written in words because we think in pictures. We talked about the ultimate tip, which is turning things into pictures. And we talked about how you glue those things together using the vowels, action, tell me, exaggeration, what else is there? Imagination. Good, good, illogical. You want to make it outstanding and unusual and all those good things. So in this lesson, I'm going to bring that together, create a new technique that you've been using almost since day one in this program. It's called word substitution. Word substitution, and we've been using it throughout this entire program, and I'll show you examples of where we've been using it so you're really at a good level with this. And now that you have this, I want to show you how to use word substitution to do two things: to increase your level of vocabulary, because wouldn't you like to improve your vocabulary? Like if you just learn 10 words a day over the course of a month, that's 300 brand new words you have in your arsenal. And your vocabulary is a reflection on how you think for things. And so expanding your vocabulary could expand your mind, could expand your opportunities as well. And so that's what I work with students on their SATs and their standardized tests, teaching them how to learn 5 or 10 new words a day in literally minutes. And have you noticed that we're able to do that quickly, right? When you go back to the sun list, you think about the fire hydrant, think about hydrogen, all the things that we've learned to this date, all the incredible, the names and faces, all this information, it happens quicker. And the reason why it happens quicker is because we're not doing the rote memory. Most people, when they need to learn something, whether it's numbers, or it's dates, or it's facts, or it's speeches, or anything, names, they just repeat, repeat, repeat. Now that's part of the equation. Repetition is very good, but there's these three areas that you want to think about. There's frequency, there is duration, and then there's intensity. Frequency, duration, intensity. Now what's the difference? Let's say you want to build your muscles and you go to the gym. You could go frequently, right? More often, and you're going to be able to build that muscle. You could do duration, meaning you could spend more time in the gym. You could spend more time on the treadmill. The longer you work out, you'll get a result. But the third way of building it is intensity. You could work out so hard. It doesn't have to be longer or more frequent, but you could stack weights, you could push yourself and have it so intense, you also get a similar result. Now, similar to that, you have things like marketing, right? So for example, marketers could go out there and show you lots of ads frequently, lots of ads, that's frequency. Or it could be a really long ad, like an infomercial that lasts longer, and so that's duration. Or there could be something that happens, and it could only happen in just a very short period of time, but it's so intense, you just feel like, oh, I have to buy it, right? Because intensity is a shortcut, whether it's your body, whether it's a business, or if it's your brain. What do I mean by that? When people are repeating things over and over again, the problem is duration and frequency is it takes time. It takes time. Frequency takes time, duration takes time. Intensity, though, what we've been using throughout this entire quest is we make things so intense, right? We use visualization, we use association, we use emotion, we use action, we use humor, we're using left brain, right brain, we're using our body, we're using diet and sleep. We're making things so intense so you don't need to repeat things over and over again. In fact, when most people want to study any of the things that you've learned up to this point, normally they do something called rote memory. Now, what's rote memory? Rote is repetition. Rote is kind of like a rotary, like a wheel, like a Rotary Club. You see the symbol as a wheel. What is that? That happened back in 20th century education when they started these schools, and what would they do? They would have rote memory, where rote, the wheel, is actually the teacher giving you the fact. This is how you spell this, or this is the person's name, or this is the formula, or this is hydrogen, helium, lithium. Right? This is the first part. The second part of the wheel is actually the students repeating it. So the teacher would say a fact, and then the students would repeat the fact. And then the teacher would repeat the fact and over again, and then it repeats 50 times, and you have the moving wheel like that, and it's turning and turning, turning. After 40, 50, 60 times, then finally your brain says, okay, this must be important, so I will remember it. And that's just so inefficient because we live in a digital age where information is flying in from all different directions. You're reading more, and there are blogs, and there's podcasts, and there's all these things. You don't have the time to do all that. So what we're doing is you can learn it once using intensity and emotion, exaggeration, and then all of a sudden you'll remember it for a long period of time. So that's how your memory works, taking ordinary information and making it extraordinary using these intensifiers. That being the case, so how do we apply what we've learned with intensity and turning things into a picture and associations with all the vowels? Well, there's a technique called word substitution. Word substitution, I'm going to use it to help you learn these vocabulary words really, really quick. And I'm going to give you a few examples so you know how it works, and then your homework is going to be to look at words that you want to memorize. Maybe you could go online and see these difficult words or words that would be good for your business or maybe in your career that would help you, because really comprehension, when it comes to reading comprehension, a big part of it is just understanding the vocabulary words, okay? So here we go. I'm going to go through some examples, some really basic words. Now, as an example, just as history, we've done this already. Exactly when you wanted to, word substitution is taking a picture to substitute for the word. So for example, for hydrogen, we use a sound-alike word, a word substitution like a fire hydrant, right? When we used a balloon, that was a word substitution for helium. When we use a battery, that was a word substitution for lithium. Do you remember the elements of the periodic table that we learned earlier? That's a word substitution. When we meet somebody and their name is Katya, Kat was a word substitution for Katya. Do you see that? So we're always using this from the very beginning almost, where we're taking pictures and substituting the words for the pictures. Now, how do you use that to boost your vocabulary? Let me give you some examples. Very simple. Let's say you wanted to learn the word extol. Now, maybe that's one of the vocabulary words. You want to learn 5 or 10 new words a day, right? Or maybe English as a second language, for example. Well, what do? First thing, tip, turn into picture. So, extol, you don't know what it means. It means, what does it mean? Do you know what it means? Say it out loud. It means to praise, to praise. So what's the first thing you do? You take extol and you turn into a picture. Now what sounds like extol? Extol. Kind of a funny picture. For me, I think of eggs and a toll booth. Eggs and a toll booth. Now that's the first part of it, of the word substitution. The second half is what? The definition, to praise. So here's my story that I have, the word substitution story I have. I imagine I'm driving and I'm going through a toll booth, and instead of paying with money, I pay with eggs. Eggs, toll. And when I go through the toll booth, then everybody in the toll booth praises me. They start praising me. And all of a sudden, how long did it take? It took seconds, right? But now I have 2 parts to learn, and which I've learned already. First part is eggs toll, eggs going through a toll booth, and finally, what's the meaning? Praise. You were praised for it. Do you see how easy this is? Now let's do a few more examples. Let's take the word mitigate. Mitigate. What does mitigate mean? It means to lessen. To lessen the severity of something, like maybe pain, to mitigate pain, for example. Now, what do you do with word substitution? Mitigate. What can you picture to remind you of mitigate? For me, I just think of a mitt on a gate. Mitt gate, right? A mitt on a gate. And maybe the mitt is so big, it's actually crushing the gate. And what I do is I push the mitt off and I lessen the pain of the gate. Do you see that? And it has both parts. It has mitt gate, and it also has the definition, which is to lessen the severity of it. The word slake, slake. Now, what does it mean? It means to quench. So slake, what could you picture? Think about it. What could you picture for slake? For me, I just picture a lake in the shape of an S. S, lake, slake, right? And then, of course, I'm dying of thirst. I go there to what? To quench my thirst. And that's my goal, right? So slake means what? It means to quench. Now, by the way, go back. Extol, what does extol mean? Eggs going through a toll, what are you doing? Praise, very good. What about mitigate? Mitt on a gate, what are you doing? It means to what? To lessen the severity of, because you're pushing the mitt. Now, by the way, you're like, Jim, I already memorized the definition. Yes, because this helps you to encode the definition faster. Because here's the thing, these methods are a means to an end. A means to an end, meaning once you get the end, which is the knowledge, the means, the visualization, the word substitution, the chain linking, the basic association, the peg method, that disappears, or even the easy as pie. Once you know someone's name, then the pictures disappear. They're all means to an end to do this, to do one thing, to encode, store, and help you retrieve this information. There's just 3 parts to your memory. First, you encode it, then you store it, and then you retrieve it. And if you really want to remember it well, you have to encode it well, and that's where the intensity comes in. That's why we're turning things into a picture. That's why we're using action, exaggeration, emotion. We're making it illogical. All those things you told me in the beginning helped it to make it more memorable. So that's the word substitution technique applied towards building your vocabulary. And so you can think of like 10 words a day, and notice how quickly that we did this together, literally in minutes. So 10 words a day, 10 minutes a day over the course of a month, again, is 300 words. Over the course of a year, we're talking about 3,600 words. I mean, that's a wonderful way to build your vocabulary. It opens up all kinds of options for you. Now, I'm gonna give you a real bonus quick tip right now, and I want to work on your spelling. And it's just going to take 2 minutes. I'm going to give you a brain hack to be a better speller. Now, if you have trouble spelling, I bet you go through and you try to sound it out and you're not a really good speller. But if you are a good speller, I bet you have a strategy where you look at the word and it just feels right or it feels wrong. Do you know what I mean? If you look at a word and it's spelled wrong, it feels wrong to you. So I'm going to give you a quick brain hack on how to be a better speller, because I get to work with a lot of spelling bee champions. So what we do is this. One technique, very simple technique, as we're talking about words and vocabulary, is you want to make sure you spell all these words correctly. Now, what I would recommend to do is, especially for the English language, most words aren't spelled phonetically, and that's the big challenge. Most words in the English language are not spelled phonetically. Even the word phonetically is not spelled the word phonetically, right? And so a bad strategy, an improper strategy to learn when it comes to spelling is to do it by auditory, meaning by sound, because most words aren't spelled the way they sound. Now, a better strategy is to use visual and feelings, meaning you look at it and you feel a certain way. Now, because that's a much better strategy, I guarantee you the people who are really good spellers, and when something is spelled wrong, they look at a word that's spelled wrong and it just feels gross. It feels like it's wrong. And so how do you employ this to become a better speller? Here's one strategy. I'm going to ask you to use flashcards, and this is a great way. So in the next lesson, I'm going to talk about word substitution applied towards foreign languages, because it's a lot like English words, because for some people, the English words are like a foreign language because they're so new to somebody, right? And one of the ways to really learn foreign language and English vocabulary are using flashcards. So imagine this. You're writing down a word, like maybe it's one of these words, supercilious, extol, mitigate, and you don't know how to spell it. Look it up and write it on an index card, like a flash card. And what I'm going to ask you to do is just try an experiment with me. Write down the word here, and I want you to move this card up and to the left. Up and to the left, and I want you to look at it and close your eyes and see if you still see it. Do you know what I mean? Because the great spellers, they don't just see something and say it to themselves. What they're doing is they're seeing it like maybe a photograph or a piece of art. Like you don't look at a piece of art and look at it left to right or right to left or up and down to up, right? You just take the whole thing in. And that's what good spellers do also as well. So a good speller is able to go put it up here and be able to spell it forwards and backwards. It'd be the equivalent of me having the alphabet here and going Z, Y, X, W, V, U, T, S, R, Q, P, and backwards, because I don't see it forwards or backwards. I see the whole thing. It's like an image here, and the great spellers actually do this also as well. So here's what you do. You write down the word you want to learn how to spell. Put it on an index card, move it up and to the left. So why do I say take the index card and put it up and to the left? Well, here's the clue. Your eyes are not just the windows to your soul. It's sort of like the windows to your mind also as well. And when you move your eyes in different directions, it sends different amounts of blood flow to different parts of the brain. And so, for example, if I ask somebody to visualize something, usually what they'll do is they'll look up. So for example, if I ask you, how many windows are there in your home? How many windows do you have in your home? A lot of people actually start looking up, because it sends more blood flow to that part of their brain that helps them to be able to visualize. Does that make sense? And so research suggests moving it up and to the left helps you to visualize things that you want to remember. And up and to the right is visualizing things that you want to imagine. So for example, if I want to teach you to visualize something brand new, like a fire hydrant tied to a balloon, to batteries, to barrel, to board, it helps to actually look up. And also maybe it might be for you up and to the right to help you visualize something that you imagine. because that's visual imagine. You can only visualize two things, either something you're imagining or visualizing something you're remembering. So imagine looking up and to the left, visualizing maybe how many windows are in my home. Look up and to the left. And something that you've seen before, remembering. And so you take the word, you put it on a piece of paper, and you move it up and to the left. And you know if you could spell it, just look at it, extol. See the letters, left to right to left. And just look at it like this, hold it right up and to the left. So after doing it a few times, try doing it for yourself and see if it helps you to be able to remember it a lot better. So what's your homework assignment, Superbrain? Really, really simple. I want you to increase your vocabulary. So I want you to go online and come up with a list of words that you want to challenge yourself every single day to be able to remember. Maybe it's 5 words a day, maybe it's 10 words a day, and practice this word substitution technique, where you take a brand new word and do what we did here together. Turn it into a picture and connect it in an interesting way using the vowels, tip and vowels, to be able to apply it towards the definition. Make those little stories. Remember, throughout human history, we taught memory before we had printing presses, before we had tablets, before we had smart devices and transcription, all these things. We would tell stories in order to maintain our memories. So stories, parables are a wonderful way to be able to store your memories. Use this technique in the word substitution, and you'll be activating your super brain. I want you to go into the community, share your success with the tribes, share with them some of the words that you're learning and the pictures that you're using in the tribe, so that way we learn from each other. Together, everyone achieves more. Thanks for watching this lesson. I can't wait to see you tomorrow.